What's up, friends? It's a beautiful day on the homestead, and today I'm going to show you how to ferment chicken feed so that you have a continual supply for your backyard laying hens. Let's jump into it. Fermenting chicken feed is honestly super easy, and it's a way that you can boost the health of your backyard laying hens. You may ask, why ferment chicken feed? Well, the same reason that you see humans ferment vegetables and things like that, because it has health benefits. Essentially what you're doing when you're fermenting that chicken feed is the fermentation process is going to make that chicken feed actually more digestible for your laying hens. You can save a little bit on feed costs, but overall you're just boosting the health of your birds. View it like a probiotic for your chickens. All the supplies you're going to need are 2 5-gallon buckets, access to a water source obviously, and then you're going to need a feed. Now this is where you're going to have to be more specific. You do not want to get a pelleted feed. I prefer either a whole scratch grain or a layer mash. You're essentially just wanting that feed to be in its most whole form, and that's going to work best. Now what we have here is an 18% layer mash feed. This is from Scratch and Peck Feeds, and that is today's video sponsor. Side note, I was feeding Scratch and Peck feeds to my laying hens back in 2019, long before Scratch and Peck actually started sponsoring me as a creator. But this is some of the best feed that you can purchase on the market. It's organic, it is corn and soy free. Some of the top ingredients in this feed are organic wheat, organic peas, organic barley, flaxseed meal, just a really high quality feed. So either you want to get something like this or you want to get a scratch grain from your local farm store. Now the reason you want 2 buckets is because the 2 bucket system makes things ultra easy so that you have a continual supply. This is going to be your 24-hour bucket, and this is going to be your 48-hour bucket. I prefer to ferment chicken feed for anywhere from that 24 to 48-hour mark, generally closer to 48 hours. So on day 1, we're going to start with this bucket here. If you do exactly what I'm going to tell you to do here, then you will have a bucket of fermented chicken feed for your chickens every single day. Now, depending upon the size of your flock, you can change the amount of feed that you plan on fermenting. But for this is our first bucket. This will ferment for 48 hours, so we're going to go ahead and fill it up. Now I'm going to do about 4 scoops of this Scratch and Peck feed. Maybe let's do 5. So it's day 1. Now what I want to do is fill this bucket up with water, and all you're wanting to do is make sure all that feed is submerged, because if it's not, then it potentially could grow mold really easily. So again, you're just putting enough water in there to where that feed is submerged. Now that we got the water in there and we've got all that feed submerged, we're going to let this sit for 24 hours. And tomorrow we are going to come and we're going to fill this bucket up at the same time tomorrow morning with a new batch of feed. All right, good morning, y'all. It is day 2. It has been 24 hours since we filled this bucket. And as you can see, all of this is really starting to soak up a lot of that water. We're starting to get some bubbles forming, which is a good sign of fermentation. It's not quite sour yet. Generally, when you start to get a sour smell, which will probably get around that 48-hour mark, is when that feed's really nice and fermented and ready to feed those chickens. And so now we're going to fill up our day 2 bucket, and tomorrow this will be ready to feed to the chickens, and this one will be 24 hours in. So you can see how if we just do this and we fill a bucket every single morning, we've got a continual supply. You may be curious, where do you put the feed while it's fermenting? I simply just put it on a shelf in the garage. That just keeps, our dog out of it, and it keeps it out of the sun as well. Somewhere shady, whether that's a shed or inside your garage or in your home. Good morning, y'all. It is day 3. This bucket has officially been fermenting for 48 hours. You can see all the bubbles forming down there, and we're starting to get a good sour smell. And I think this is the perfect time to feed it to the chickens. You can push this if you wanted to go to 3 buckets in this system to ferment your bucket 1 to 72 hours. You can do that. I kind of like sticking to 48, and we're going to go get this fed to the chickens. Now, one option to get your feed out of the bucket is to use a strainer like this. I personally just like to dump the whole thing on the ground and let the chickens pick through it. All right, so now that we got that bucket dumped and this one is now on 24 hours, you're gonna wash this bucket out and refill it just like we've done the last two. And you can see you've got the rotation rolling and you should have a constant supply of fermented chicken feed.